Chapter 696, Determinism. The residual traces of the spiraling white snake that unfolded with the first use of the salt sea returning dew jade still coil around Mount Sumeru. And now, I draw a double helix, carefully avoiding overlapping with the traces of that white snake as much as possible, becoming a dragon that draws spirals. Coo-goo-goo-goo-goo. Is it because the Radiance 8 immortals perhaps know that the salt sea returning dew jade is the immortal beast king advancement ritual? They begin unleashing an all-out assault at me. That's not all. Countless prophecies of true immortals pour down upon me. However, I attain the speed of undying through the salt sea returning dew jade and the power of my martial pinnacle, so not a single one of their prophecies can reach me. Oh Hai Seo, Kim Yeon. Toward the top of flower soul filling the heavens. I speak to the two women now seated above my head. Lend me your strength. Kim Yeon gladly draws in the power of the bright cold realm and breathes it into me. But Oh Hai Seo only lets out a smirk. Why should I? Tell me, Seo Eun-yun. At Oh Hai Seo's words, the words, to the glass peacock, rise to the tip of my tongue, but I hold them back and speak. The direction of her hatred is clear. She hates me. It's about time to address it at least once. Until now, Oh Hai Seo had been an obvious enemy, so there was no need to bother persuading her. After all, I could have just compressed her with the phenomena extinguishing mantra or extract power from her using various other immortal arts when necessary. But now, Oh Hai Seo has become one of my comrades. Even if she doesn't like it, she is one of us. I raise the wheel above my head. Seo Weol was certainly killed by my hand. That's right. And you resent me for that, don't you? Quote. Even if you don't say your wish, I already know. I speak to Oh Hai Seo. You want Seo Weol to be brought back to life. Using the power of my wheel. Quote. Yeah, sorry, but that's not possible. The underworld will not allow it. Oh Hai Seo's body trembles violently. Quote. Then, what in the world? Instead, I'll show you Seo Weol. Quote. What? Right now, the place I am headed to as the salt sea returning dew jade nears completion is the Akashic Records. It is the repository that holds all the history of this world. The completion of the salt sea returning dew jade. The immortal beast king advancement ritual is completed when the double helix engraved upon Mount Sumeru reaches the Akashic Records. It's not just a cradle of information. There, the past actually exists. In other words, I can't reunite you with Seo Weol, but I can let you witness the Seo Weol of the past. Quote. And if it's you, then the moment you obtain the truth about the past Seo Weol, you should be able to use your authority to trace his history, and if my wheel and your authority combine, a foundation will be created to find Seo Weol's reincarnation. To truly accept her as my comrade, I offer the best proposal I can give her. Meet the Seo Weol of the past. And lay the foundation to reunite with the Seo Weol of the future. I can't bring your Seo Weol back to life, but letting you meet him again, that much I can at least do. Quote. For a moment, Oh Hai Seo hesitates, and Kim Yeon, who has been listening to our conversation during that moment, slaps Oh Hai Seo hard across the cheek. Chak. Quote. Come to your senses, Hai Seo Unni. I know your state, better than anyone. Because you're in a state just like my master, the Mad Lord. She glares at Oh Hai Seo with fierce eyes and speaks. The Mad Lord lost his lover and went mad. To feel her touch just once more, he brought the past into reality. He devoted his entire life for that. And though it was only that much, even with just that, he was saved. Quote. To you, Seo Weol must have been the her to the Mad Lord. So what in the world are you hesitating for? Talk. Kim Yeon pushes Oh Hai Seo's back hard and pours immense power into me. Koo-goo-goo-ging. At the same time, the bright cold realm begins to be summoned behind her. Kim Yeon drops from my back and merges into the bright cold realm as she speaks. Go, Oh Hai Seo. With no regrets left behind. Quote. Oh Hai Seo trembles as she looks at Kim Yeon. For some reason, there is fear in her gaze as she stares at Kim Yeon. Though the reason is unclear, she is now afraid of Kim Yeon. Quote. How can you be like that? Boo-doo-dook. Kururum. Kim Yeon, now one with the bright cold realm, descends from the midpoint of Mount Sumeru, takes the full brunt of the true immortal's prophecy bombardment, and grabs the heavenly king heavenly domain with one hand. Koo-goo-goo-goo-goo. Then, she, now dwelling with the bright cold realm, begins to move the heavenly king heavenly domain with one hand. The true immortals of the three heavens great thousand world begin to scream. Exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark exclamation mark colon. Indescribable screams unfold throughout all of creation, and with Kim Yeon's single utterance, the flesh of the Tridakna vast cold heavenly king begins to exert power on the present world. But what is truly terrifying are Kim Yeon's next words. Immortal art, Yeon's play. The history of the bright cold realm trembles, and the past of a distant age is drawn into the present by Kim Yeon's power. An immortal art that recreates the distant past overlays the bright cold realm. And the history from hundreds of thousands of years ago begins to play out once more. Shiver. I get goosebumps in shock, recalling the ominous dread and awe I once felt from the Gandhara of the underworld. As the past reenacts upon the body of vast cold. For just a single moment. The Tridakna vast cold heavenly king. The authority of their prime self makes a second coming upon Mount Sumeru. Clang. It is a massive shackle. At the same time, it is the pen that protects all things of all phenomena, and the power of a being who once loved the entirety of Mount Sumeru. From this moment on, Kim Yeon's voice, overlapping vast cold, resounds throughout heaven and earth. To every being in this world, harming another is now forbidden. Jaejeong. I break out into a cold sweat. Just like what Underworld once did. Kim Yeon, bringing forth the second coming of the Tridakna vast cold heavenly king's power, has temporarily restructured the law of everything of true immortals bring harm to enders. Unlike Bong Hwa, who had to accept the trials of the underworld, the law Kim Yeon restructured bears no such constraints. The countless prophecies bombarded at me by the true immortals are now all turned into blessings, accelerating me to the limit. A power truly worthy of being called the ultimate of non-killing has been enforced upon the world. On top of that, as the authority of the Tridakna vast cold heavenly king envelops me infinitely, it begins accelerating me beyond measure. Twin holding heavenly domain. There, Hong Fan, who has completely turned the swallowing heaven supreme deity into an immortal treasure along with the other immortal treasures of Seo Eun-yun, glares sharply in one direction. This power, deepest depths of the underworld. The heavenly venerable of the underworld Bong Hwa looks up at Kim Yeon with a dumbfounded expression. This is, as she strokes a tanguish she once drew long ago, she lets out a hearty laugh. An authority that doesn't replace the immortal art immortal cultivation with a proper orthodox method like Seo Eun-yun's, but just pushes it away with brute force. How incredible, to think the authority of vast cold could be reproduced even for a single second. She recalls the deed vast cold once committed. Using their seemingly infinite power, they had forcibly filled all beings of Mount Sumeru, whether they wanted it or not, with the power of love, briefly turning all beings into undying entities like true immortals, and then violently pushed away the immortal art immortal cultivation. For such madness, the vast cold heavenly lord incurred the hatred of Radiance Hall, and even after death, their body was designated as a special management subject, having even the name of the vast cold realm restricted. I miss those days. She clicks her tongue quietly, remembering the deeds of vast cold that had, once, annihilated Radiance Hall. Back then, when vast cold exchanged full moves with the four heavenly venerables, and then, exhausted, turned and wiped out the entirety of the Radiance 8 immortals who came to strike them from behind. It was at that time that I truly thought that hope lay before our eyes. But the result was this. Bong Hwa's subordinates and vast cold were defeated, and the destruction of the obliterated Radiance Hall became revised history, leaving behind the dust-sized remnant of the Rain-Dew Heavenly Lord, who became the survivor. O Tridakna of the present, will you be able to rise to the heights of vast cold? Please, if you could follow just to the tip of their toes, I will offer all hope for the sake of you all. Each time she returns from the audience chamber, history is extracted and her memories are lost, yet through the battle of vast cold, one truth was confirmed. No matter how many monsters of vast cold's level are brought to the future king, we can never win with just strength. We must raise all 7 enders to the level of governing immortals. That is the only method where hope can be seen. With hope in her embrace, the underworld closes her eyes. And in the fleeting instant when the underworld's gaze is lifted from Mount Sumeru, from the twin holding heavenly domain, 5 black chains leap onto Seo Eun-yun's spiral and begin chasing after him. The chain at the very front seems to resemble a black snake. Tremble, 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 tremble. The Rain-Dew Heavenly Lord trembles more violently than any of the other 8 immortals as they watch the second coming of vast cold through Kim Yeon's play. Rain-Dew, Rain-Dew. Get a hold of yourself, Rain-Dew. Though rain dew is supposed to erase all emotion, in this one moment alone, they cannot suppress it. A nightmare from long ago is eating away at the rain dew heavenly Lord. In the name of vast cold, I declare, the representative great forest shall possess the compassion to watch over all. In the name of vast cold, I declare, the arbiter great sun shall carry warmth as bright as their name. In the name of vast cold, I declare, the vanguard sword spear shall possess the heart that does not simply reach out first and connect, but first gains understanding and only then connects. In the name of vast cold, I declare, the executor rain dew shall. A colossal giant god of pink light looks down upon the bug-like radiance 8 immortals and issues commands. Doubt their comrades, but also trust them with a heart as vast as the sky. The blessings of true immortals become calamity to enders. The strongest ender vast cold was a being who could freely twist such laws and even flip them around in reverse. The blessings of enders became calamities to true immortals. Due to the principles of the world changed by vast cold at that time, the blessings vast cold delivered to the Radiance 8 immortals became calamities that annihilate them. To this day, rain dew still cannot understand how they survived vast cold's blessings. It must have been by coincidence. But whether by coincidence or fate, they remember one thing. Dodge. Kim Yeon raises vast cold's arm. The rain dew heavenly lord cries out with desperate resolve. The great forest heavenly lord, bearing the experience of the underworld, respects rain dew's words and pulls the 8 immortals back. The Tridakna vast cold heavenly lord has been reenacted. Do not confront under any circumstances. Kugugugugu. As the authority of vast cold rises, multiple, heavenly domains, begin to form, from where vast cold's hand reaches toward. The entire mass of Mount Sumeru increases by several-fold, and all the true immortals positioned in the path of vast cold strike are struck by the expansions of the newly created heavenly domains, sent flying in unison. Then, those true immortals touched by the heavenly domains created by vast cold's power, as if brainwashed, collapse on the spot and begin wailing like mortals. How could I have forgotten this heart? Ah, O vast cold! Were you the true God all along? Ah, O God, O God! Countless heaven immortals and earth immortals realize the futility of battle, and enlightened to the benefits of love, losing all will to fight. They begin to disperse their cultivation and share it with the mortal beings of the lower realm. In an instant, the true immortals affiliated with Radiance Hall fall to the level of the integration stage, and every living being below the star-shattering stage across Mount Sumeru sees their cultivation rise by 2 entire realms. Thus, the true immortals of Radiance Hall, excluding the 33 envoys of the final age of Dharma, the 33 heavenly resplendent treasure immortals, and the 8 radiance immortals. Excluding a total of 74 true immortals, all true immortals numbering over 6,000 fall to mortality. The entire combat strength of Radiance Hall vanishes. And they do so voluntarily at that. Through Kim Yeon's play. This is the result of the innate ender authority of the prime Tridakna vast cold heavenly king, heaven manifestation, being unleashed. In the instant when countless true immortals are annihilated, the 5 chains, led by the chain in the form of a black snake, wrap around and follow Seo Unyun's spiral, reaching the mid-slope of Mount Sumeru. Do. As I gasp at the immeasurable power flooding into my entire body, I even divine descent Ohai Seo's heart into myself. Kurururung. At the same time, at my behind that has been continuing to trace a double helix across the entirety of Mount Sumeru, a dark red curve and a light pink curve begin drawing a hyperbola along with the double helix. Wu Wang. Salt Sea returning Dew Jade. Sword God Dance. The authorities of Kim Yeon and Ohai Seo, divine descended through the Sword God Dance. Combining all of them, reach. At last, I arrive at the middle realm region of the Sun and Moon heavenly domain. Then, I reach at the vertex that lies above it. I arrive right before the head realm. Kurururung. Kim Yeon's love flows into me. The love Ohai Seo holds for Seo Whale is felt within me. As I embrace both loves inside me, and catch sight of the 5 black chains that have chased right up behind me and flinch, I crash into the head realm with full force. Kuriririk. What is this? The radiance mantra is activating. Am I regressing? The phenomenon unfolding before my eyes resembles regression so surprisingly closely that I almost mistake it for regression. Had I not sensed the strange movement of the wheel adjusting the surroundings, I would have been completely convinced. It isn't regression. Wu Wang. Holding Ohai Seo in one arm, I rise upstream against the distant flow of history. This is, and as I travel upstream through history, I can tell. Am I moving through time? Having currently collided with the Akashic records, and aided by the power of the Radiance mantra and the wheel, I am truly traveling through time into the actual past. Coo-goo-goo-goo-goo-goo. At the same time, from far away, a familiar aura begins to be felt. We realize we have arrived at a point in time, 40,000 years before, we fell into Mount Sumeru, and each of us wears a different expression. Oh Hai Seo's eyes tremble, my lips tremble, and Hong Fan wipes his sweat as his breath trembles. Wu Wang. As I rise through the river of history, a thought occurs to me. Single quote. What must be done for there to be no contradiction or paradox in time travel? The answer is simple. This world just needs to be deterministic. I, carrying the wheel that is shining pure white under the influence of salt sea returning dew jade on my back, together with Oh Hai Seo, arrive at the moment of Seo Whale's first birth. Though I have never seen it directly, nor has it yet occurred. The moment I arrive at this place, I can understand everything. How I and Oh Hai Seo will act from this point forward, and how everything at this point in time will be determined. You look like you've got a lot of thoughts on your mind, Master. Hong Fan asks with a concerned expression, and I smile bitterly as I step, together with Oh Hai Seo, into the past of Seo Whale reached through the Akashic records. Quote. It's just that, I'm starting to lose grasp on how we're supposed to defeat the future king. If everything up until now is the future king's fate and vision, then just how are we supposed to defeat him? Thus, we descend into the virtual world left behind by Oh Hai Seo's predecessor, Agate, and begin to observe this world. Chapter 697, The Beginning and the End. The first thing we see is a massive chunk of information. I understand what this is. This thing, constantly writhing in a dark red state, is a type of massive computation device. Oh Hai Seo and I are immersed in the massive waves of dimensional flow, and the thing closest to us is this dark red fog-like mass. Wo Wang. Quote. Oh Hai Seo, her eyes trembling, brings her hand toward the dark red mass. TTSTSTSTSST. A virtual world, huh? Inside the dark red mass before my eyes, I see thousands of worlds. And within those virtual worlds, virtual realities filled with countless possibilities are being processed. This must be the legacy of a previous agate. The current time is 40,000 years ago. And this place is within the head realm, the space where the Akashic records exist. Located in that space, it seems to be a virtual world computation immortal art within the remains of the previous agate. This place is Seo Whale's homeland. Oh Hai Seo smiles bitterly. Dreamlike mists of every hue cover the surroundings. At the center is the dark red mist, and within that mist, thousands of virtual realities are visible. The ego of the artificial computation device that is the previous agate's legacy, agate's persona, seems to have detected our reaction as it begins to scan the surroundings. However, perhaps because the rank of Oh Hai Seo, who is currently linked to me, and I, is far too high, agate's persona fails to even perceive us. This point in time is 40,000 years ago. Deep inside the head realm's Akashic records. I guess we can't exit this place. I try to look around this point in time we've reached, but my whole body feels like it's sinking deep into an ocean, unable to move. If I get used to it, I might be able to move, but for now, it's difficult. Is it the resistance of a world existing in the past? I suppose I should see it as a kind of corrective force. The ancient history formed by the layered webs of Indra's net, the principle of the world, presses down on us with immense weight, minimizing our interference. For now, all we can do within this misty world inside the head realm's Akashic records is observe the traces of agate. Anyway, Seo Whale can't be seen. Oh Hai Seo, about your predecessor agates. He's here. What? But Oh Hai Seo seems to have found something. He's here. Heaven and earth spiritual energy flows from her eyes. Reflected in her tears is a single dot of violet mist, mingled with the dark red legacy of agate. Quote. I see. I can sense the familiar scent of the underworld from that violet mist. The loyal retainer of Bonghua who upheld the power of the underworld, the former chief judge of the netherworld, the nether devil true lord Yu Haote. His leftover blood yin, the fragment of purple soul filling the heavens imbued with blood yin's will that submerged into agate's legacy and was born was that ancient Seo Whale. In silence, I begin to watch Seo Whale with Oh Hai Seo from outside the mist. Countless time passes. Oh Hai Seo watches as the fragment of purple soul filling the heavens, which can be called the essence of Seo Whale, gradually awakens within agate's legacy. Meanwhile, within the past, contemplate the radiance mantra and research ways to observe the past more closely, in search of power that transcends time. Even if we go to the past, if we can't escape the head realm, it's meaningless. We must be able to leave the head realm. Through immortal arts, through mantras, through martial arts, I seek every method to minimize the resistance imposed by the power of the past within this space. And, within that time, the existence that can be called the essence of Seowaol gradually gains more spiritual energy and expands the root of its existence. Eventually, for the first time, it comes to possess what is called an ego. Then, at last, I am able to see the faces of Seowaol's parents. Father, mother, must I also marry for the purpose of intercourse with a female or male? Within Agat's virtual world, Seowaol, having obtained an ego for the first time, asks his parents. Ohio tilts her head, unable to recognize the parents. Perhaps, for someone like Ohio, they are beings of far too high a rank to perceive. And, as I perceive Seowaol's parents, I barely endure the pain that feels as if my eyes are about to burst. Hong Fan taps my shoulder and speaks with concern. Master, please do not overdo it. They seem to be existences beyond rank. You could be harmed if you push too hard. Quote. I glance at Hong Fan, who has at some point succeeding in transforming the swallowing heaven supreme deity into an immortal treasure and bestowing the supreme deity's power to the other immortal treasures, and has come as one of the 5 immortal treasures, and speak. How strange. Even if the power of the swallowing heaven supreme deity was distributed among the immortal treasures so that each reaches the level of a great net immortal and, together, they reach the level of a supreme deity. Their own realm, excluding the power granted, is at best that of vestige liberation immortal. And yet, despite being such beings, though he accelerated for a shorter duration than Hyeon Mu, Hong Fan still managed to follow me with the speed of undying and clung to me up to here. The issue is, I have no way of knowing how he managed to do that. Even when I read the history, the result is the same. He simply followed along. At this bizarre situation where there is no process, only the result, I feel a chill wash over me. It's as if, as long as we are inside Mount Sumeru, there's some kind of law that dictates Hong Fan to be by my side, regardless of causality. Just what exactly is Hong Fan? Is he simply the first Radiance Supreme Deity, or is there another secret hidden beyond that? Quote. It's fine. You just go over there and eat boiled potatoes or something. Seeing Hong Fan's expression that seems to worry for me, I let out a faint chuckle and turn my head away. If it's the current me, even if I look directly, it's not enough to make me return to thee. And so, turning away from the worried-looking Hong Fan, I begin to perceive Seowaol's parents. Everything under heaven and earth follows the principle of Taiji, pairing as it should. Tingle, I see. That is something someone like Ohio cannot possibly perceive. Because that being is a monstrosity that transcends all simply through its very existence, one of the fundamental laws that exist in this world. That being is the one who bears the name Fate. Keying, a mortal beast true blood bursts out from my eyes. But I look at the phenomenon clearly. Within Seowaol's memories, only that one line is heard, but I am able to hear the other words spoken by that being. Guide, draw forth hatred, and so, through death, complete the new agate. Goo. I momentarily hide Hong Fan within my body, guard Ohio from any potential attack, and simultaneously fix my glare on that inside the dark red virtual world and on that which reveals itself from deep inside the head realm. The one within the virtual world that is Seowaol's homeland, is merely a black surface me and face. The black wall-like thing emerging with the dark red mist faces Seowaol. And, that is only a part of it. I see a massive black hand revealed behind the dark red mist. That hand is pitch black, and part of its palm protrudes into the dark red world, appearing as a black wall. I focus all my senses on that hand. Yet the owner of the hand seems utterly uninterested in someone like me and instead exerts attraction force upon Seowaol. Wo Wang. Then, on the surface that reveals itself before Seowaol, colors begin to appear. The colors intertwine and tangle together to form a scene. Say, that you love me. It is a scene where something, painted in dark red, embraces Seowaol's bones and weeps uncontrollably. As I watch the scene, I grind my teeth. Your existence shall be for the sole purpose of realizing this future. TSTSTSTSTSTSTSTSs. Soon, the black wall that appeared before Seowaol and showed him the future scene begins to dissolve and absorb into him. PTSTSTSTSTSTST. At the same time, the hand vanishes in the blink of an eye, and Seo Whale regains his senses. Immediately after, I can tell that Seo Whale, who was once nothing more than a small spirit fragment containing purple soul filling the heavens, now truly possesses fate. He now has both soul and fate. All that remains is chi to form the physical body. However, even with just that, the existence of the innate sacred vessel Seo Whale is now more than halfway complete. From that point on, Seo Whale, now fully possessing fate, begins to walk the path of fate as I know it. As that, the process of a guide being born. Beings born to awaken the fate of Agate, who must internalize everything about Agate's fate through their very flesh. In order to teach hatred, those who must inscribe hatred into their bodies deeper than anyone else. That is precisely, those chosen to become the guides of Agate. Ohai Seo continues to observe such a Seo Whale and trembles. Seo Unyun, please. I beg you, save Seo Whale. With your wheel, rewrite the past. She begins to cry as she watches Seo Whale in his pain. If it's you, you can do it, right? I can't watch him tear his own heart apart like that anymore. Quote. Please, Seo Unyun, I'll beg like this. I'll devote my body and heart to you from now on. I will never betray you again. I'll educate Seo Whale myself. If you tell me to lick your feet, I'll do it. If you tell me to shove my head into the toilet, I will. Even if you cut my throat and sip and eat my skull, I'll smile and accept it. Please save Seo Whale. I look at Ohai Seo like that, then look at the Seo Whale suffering in the past. Seo Whale is seizing the legacy of Agate in this time point and is completing tainted soul filling the heavens. What would happen if I intervene at this moment? If the past is rewritten, will the Seo Whale who had toyed with us until now disappear? What if Seo Whale could have been a true friend instead of an enemy? Wu Wang, Hong Fan, who has entered my body, shouts. Do not overdo it, master. That one was an enemy until very recently. Just because she became an ally, there is no need to go that far. More than anything, to rewrite the past is to shatter the causality of the present story. As his explanation continues, my hesitation deepens. If you help the Seo Whale of the past, what becomes of us of the present? If he is rewritten, won't our very existence cease to exist? Quote. I bite my lip at Hong Fan's completely reasonable words. For the sake of someone who was our enemy, do not throw away our present, our connections. Master. Quote. I grit my teeth. Not a single part of Hong Fan's argument is wrong. There is no reason for me to sacrifice myself for someone like Seo Whale. Therefore, I ask Ohai Seo. Cut the emotional act. Explain it to me. I explain to her the fundamental contradiction that Hong Fan has pointed out and ask her. What reason do we have to help the Seo Whale of the past, even at the cost of our present? Quote. That's, you're mad, but you've always been calculative. There's no way someone like you would make such an emotional plea without a reason. The one who possesses the legacy of the previous Agate is the current you. So in the most logical way possible, convince me, Ohai Seo. Quote. If it had been someone other than Seo Whale, I might have at least tried to play along with her emotional act. But the one I am being asked to help, is Seo Whale. Before being my fellow Taoist, the one who is my enemy. Why should I make a choice that endangers the me of the present for the sake of an ill connection? Upon hearing my question, Ohai Seo bites her lip for a moment. But soon, a firm resolve rises on her face. My authority blurs the boundary between the truth present in this place and the thoughts I have. But truth does not change. My uncle and Seo Whale taught me that. That's right, history can never be changed. If you try to change something unchangeable, just like you said, we might all end up in danger. But you know it too. Quote. The past cannot be changed, because it is time that has already passed. No matter how much you try to rewrite it, it won't change. Quote. The moment I saw your wheel, I knew. The power of your rewriting is probably almost the same as my authority. Only after reaching this realm and perceiving the Radiance mantra did I understand how the wheel rewrites the past. If I compare it to the form of the infant I saw. The Radiance mantra is the principle of returning to the ends of the blood vessels and forming new ones. While the rewriting of the wheel creates a new, smaller blood vessel next to the existing one. In other words, the ability of rewriting is a kind of parallel dimension creation. It does not change the actual past, but instead transfers the beings that existed in that past into a parallel dimension that possesses the same reality as the original past, and lets them live there. In that sense, the wheel and the radiance mantra are equivalent in that they possess an ability to form the infant's body. That is to say, when I dealt with the children of In and Yian during my battle with Xiao, I did not truly rewrite the past. I merely sent their spirits into a parallel dimension and allowed them to live out their lives once more within it. For the time that has passed absolutely does not disappear. But, even if the past never disappears, within that past, I want to insert even a little bit of happiness between those moments. For Xiao, I want him to have not just a history of pure hatred, but also a trace of happy history. So please, Xiao Unyun, lend me your wheel. If your power and my authority combine, we can give Xiao even a sliver of happiness. Quote. History is absolutely unchangeable anyway. So what you're afraid of, the danger to our present caused by changing the past, will never happen. So, absolutely not, Master. What this woman says only applies to a typical case. But now that we've reached the real past through the Akashic records, this is no longer an ordinary case and could very well lead to the actual rewriting of the past. Therefore, just once, give us a chance. If the predetermined fate is twisted, everyone may be destroyed. Quote. I rise from my seat and gently close my eyes. And then, I realize something. No, more precisely, it would be accurate to say that the enlightenment came to me through Ohai Seo's desperate wish. If you were to realize that you've already died in the future, and that your current self is nothing but a reenactment of the past, what would you do? Quote. Are you asking what I'd do if I'm just a memory or a lingering thought? I hear Ohai Seo's shout, and I turn to look at the person in white who has come to me. Come to think of it, this person, too, has experienced the exact same thing through me in the past. You accepted it with such calm composure. How were you able to do that, exactly? I was the one who asked first. You dare turn it around with a question of your own, you brat. Do you want to taste the club? If I am nothing more than a remnant of the past, and all I'm doing is repeating my history, and if my end is a pitiful defeat, making everything I do from now on meaningless, then what would I do? If that's the case, then I must struggle harder. Though I ponder the question for a moment, the answer is simple. From the very beginning, it is something I've embodied again and again with my own flesh and body after all. If I were to regress multiple times and face enemies I cannot resist, making everything meaningless, then what would I do? Struggle harder. That is the only answer I can give. Even if the future is meaningless, as long as the me who struggles exists, my present is still alive. If I were to die tomorrow, and if that can never be changed, then what would I do? Struggle. Keep struggling. Struggle like mad. That is all there is to it. Because even if I were to die tomorrow, if I struggle more, then that struggle will be remembered by someone. If this moment is nothing more than a reenactment of the past, and my ending is already determined, then isn't that all the more to live like mad? Only then, will those who one day read my past be able to gain something from me. As I answer my own questions while looking at the presence before me, I find the answer to the question I ask the Salt Sea Supreme Deity. Just why and how did the lingering thought of the Salt Sea Supreme Deity so calmly accept that it is a being of the past and that its end is only defeat? It is simple. Even if the future is set, the past, in itself, conveys the heart to those who will exist in that future. As long as those of the future fumble through and try to read the past. No matter how fixed the future may be, the things we do are not meaningless. The heart never disappears. Even if I die, someday those who follow after me, they will surely receive that heart, and understand it. That is enough. Quote. Take your stance, Ohai Seo. Master. I stand beside Ohai Seo and take the stance of the Sword God dance. I absolutely don't expect you to follow along. Just try to clumsily mimic the movements. You're insane, but since you're a genius too, you should at least be able to imitate the form, right? Perhaps sensing some kind of will in my words, Ohai Seo follows my stance. Activate your authority at full power. Master. Originally, it's a dance meant to borrow, but this time, I'm going to activate it as one that lends. I will lend you everything of mine, and everything of the wheel, so try mixing it with your authority and rewrite with your own hands. You mustn't. The wheel will be harmed. Hong Fan begins to panic. It might seem suspicious at a glance, but Hong Fan's heart is filled with genuine concern for me, so I accept his shouting and nod. Do not worry. This is a story of the past. Therefore, if the fate of the past is twisted, the fate of the present may also be twisted and affect us all. If so, then why am I trying to influence a story of the past? Fate cannot be changed anyway. I, who had set my goal on shattering fate, now paradoxically acknowledge it. The absolute of fate cannot be overturned. Because this is a story that has already passed. Because we cannot rewrite a story that has already passed. However, I can assign a different meaning to it. What I can do is simply try to give a different meaning to the past. Even if I try editing the past, as Ohio says, the past itself never changes. And fate twisting and bringing harm to us of the present, like Hong Fan fears, will not happen. Because no matter how much the past is rewritten, no matter how many parallel worlds are created, what originally existed will never disappear. If the Radiance mantra creates an additional crosswalk, then the rewriting the wheel is like creating a skywalk, or underground passage, above or below that crosswalk. No matter how large the temporarily created underground path becomes, the original crosswalk never vanishes. But, to those who had always used that road, a different possibility may arise. What Hong Fan fears is that the side road created by the wheel will erase the original path, and a completely different path will extend from that side road. But as I come to understand the power and meaning of the immortal Beast King, I realize that such a thing can never happen. Even if a new past is created and rewritten, fate cannot be changed. Only now do I understand that. Wu Wang, mimicking the form of my sword god dance, Ohio becomes connected to me. And to her, my power is lent. At the same time, the wheel shifts momentarily, not behind me, but behind her. Kahayak, Ohio vomits a mouthful of blood under the pressure and weight of the wheel. She doesn't even draw power from it properly. Merely having the wheel placed upon her back, which I am turning for her, causes her to suffer a fatal wound. She likely won't recover anytime soon. But she, as if it doesn't matter, fuses the wheel with the authority of truth manipulation and creates a new side road. A new blood vessel. A small-scale parallel dimension is created. And then, Ohio descends into the world of agate that exists within it, and approaches the newly born Seowaol there. She crushes all of agate's rules, and becomes one of Seowaol's connections of that time. She becomes Seowaol's wife. As Seowaol's life continues and he dies, she even becomes Seowaol's husband. At times, she becomes the madam of the brothel where Seowaol lives, or becomes Seowaol's disciple. Sometimes she becomes Seowaol's friend, and even Seowaol's superior. But in all those lives, she becomes someone who understands Seowaol. Duke. Is it because she is touching the past of an Ender's Guide? Is it because she is directly rewriting the Akashic records of the head realm? I can feel an overwhelming burden being pressed upon the wheel. However, it does not collapse. Even as she shares a portion of the wheel's burden, Ohio never gives up. She helps Seowaol's past, aiding the young Seowaol to acquire an immortal art similar to Tainted Soul, filling the heavens with his own strength, and take control of the world of agate. Kuguguguging. And within the collapsing world, Seowaol, having at last fully realized his identity as an innate sacred vessel, recognizes Ohio's identity. And perhaps it is because they are inside the Akashic records. He receives his circumstance from the Akashic records and speaks to her. Who are you? The wheel overheats. Only now do I remember. Seowaol gives a bitter smile. I had another reality. In that reality, I repeated a painful life according to the calculations of agate, completely fragmented myself to complete Tainted Soul, filling the heavens, and seized agate. And when I came to my senses, I had repeated a happy life with you once more. Who are you, to give me this kind of happiness? This is the true nature of the power that rewrites the past. Not actually editing the past, but creating a small-scale parallel dimension and throwing the target one wishes to edit into it, gifting them another life. Rather than history rewrite, it's more accurate to say it provides a chance to live one more life in a parallel world. The underworld likely amplified this ability to the peak and developed it into the power of reincarnation. And Seowaol, in the process of having transformed himself into an immortal art, awakened the past of the being called Seowaol of the original history, who was also his past life. Who are you to have gifted me this life? Duke. Beneath the overburdened wheel, Ohio hears Seowaol's question and smiles sadly. The one who will. Duke. The wheel undergoes insane pressure. Continue to love you. And finally, cracks begin to form in the world. I will not forget you. CCC crack. At the same time, the parallel dimension that Ohio and I created begins to collapse. The correct flow of fate extracts the world. That was falsely rewritten. The history rewrite for In and Yin, the parallel dimension created for them, was not a large rewrite, and it was carried out in the sun and moon heavenly domain. But this time, the history rewrite involves the guide of an ender and takes place inside the head realm. Perhaps that is why history is being extracted. So, as I witness the process, a question embedded deep in my mind becomes resolved. Kududududuke. The parallel world Ohio and I created for Co. That side path gets extracted and shattered, turning into fragments of ancient force. You too, don't forget me. The fabricated world of history vanishes, and the original history of Co. is revealed. Suffering for lifetimes within the calculation device of agate, devouring agate through tainted soul filling the heavens. The history of Co.'s spirit collapsing after perceiving the Akashic records of the head realm and meeting the being bearing the wheel on their back unfolds before us. All of Ohio's history that until just moments ago gave Co. happiness vanishes, and every word and heart she had conveyed to him turns into chunks of ancient force and disappears. The current Co. is simply the Co. meeting Ohio bearing the wheel on her back for the first time. Co. Rui-yu. Co. simply stares blankly at her, as he is dragged by the flow of fate into the body of a sea dragon in the head realm. Originally, that is as far as the fate I remember goes. However, for some reason, I give the wheel one more push of power. Co Un-yun. Hong Fan cries out madly within heartache and anguish. By my strength and the pressure of the past. CCCC crack. A crack forms on the wheel. But because of that single decision, Ohio gains just a fleeting moment more to say her final farewell to Co. She approaches Co.'s spirit and quietly presses her forehead to his. That brief warmth passes on to Co. Pot. That is the end. Ohio and I are ejected from this reality. The wheel no longer bears any pressure, and Ohio, with a wistful expression, reaches out toward the time Co. existed in. Whether the warmth Ohio passed in that final moment is part of the original flow of fate or not, I do not know. Perhaps even that final warmth may be extracted. But even if history is plucked out by fate, even if that truth becomes ancient force, it will never disappear. Pasa. The time of Ohio and Co. becomes ancient force and flies toward Ohio. Thank you. Ohio sobs, accepting the shards of ancient force flying into her. Those fragments of ancient force are absorbed into her, beginning to merge with tainted soul filling the heavens. Her tainted soul filling the heavens, once black, begins to turn white as it accepts the power of the pure white ancient force. Thank you, Co. Thank you, Co Un-yun. Thank you, truly, thank you. The moment I realized that we were intervening in Co.'s past, I understood that fate does not necessarily flow from past to future, its reverse can also hold true. That is why I deeply felt the power of the future king. And that is why I acknowledge that fate is absolute. And, precisely because I know it is absolute, I acknowledged it and granted Ohio's plea. For no matter how fixed fate may be, that desperate struggle to seek even a sliver of happiness within it, I simply cannot ignore it. In that process, I also came to understand one of the ways in which fate asserts its absoluteness. When a timeline of the future interferes with the past, and if the past is rewritten by the future that interferes with time, then the history that hinders the narrative of fate is extracted. It is extracted, and becomes ancient force. Co. through this history extraction, will remember only the original history that exists in my memories. And, if one day, we return to the present time and Ohio gets Co's reincarnation to remember his past life and returns the extracted crystallized lump of ancient force, Co will be able to remember even the history that was extracted. In other words, my 16th cycle was extracted by the flow of absoluteness due to a being of the future interfering with the past. And the history that was extracted in such a way, somewhere in this world, exists in the form of ancient force. In other words, if I can find that ancient force, I can reclaim the memories of my 16th cycle. From now on, I am your follower. As I organize this truth, Ohio bows before me. Leaving Co's time point and returning to the present, to the time we were originally in, I flinch as I see Ohio bowing to me. Her tainted soul filling the heavens, which was once in the form of a shadow with Co's horns, now shines pure white. And, I vividly feel her heart, which I hadn't been able to before. Among the Enders, beings that originally have no soul and thus no true heart, Ohiseo and I have found ours. However, Ohiseo's soul was so faint that I never felt a real heart from her. But at this very moment, her soul grows wildly, and her heart can be properly felt. The ripple of that heart is one I know all too well. From now on, use me as your tool. In return, if one day you find Seo Whale's reincarnation, let this heart be conveyed to him. If you promise this, I will obey your command, and entrust everything to you. Without any resistance, my body and heart, all of it. I will give to you. So please, promise me, that you will deliver this past and this heart, to him. Single quote. Because it is the heart of one who never had a heart, is that why it feels so new? I nod. At the same time, I realize why the Great Mountain Supreme Deity spoke such hollow words to me. The Great Mountain Supreme Deity must have known that everything is within the ring of fate, and in order to desecrate fate, declared himself as the owner of it. The moment I nod, Ohiseo's white-tainted soul filling the heavens begins to connect with my flower soul filling the heavens. She splits her spirit in half and breathes the divided tainted soul filling the heavens into my flower soul filling the heavens. Purple soul filling the heavens is inherited as a heart is passed down to another heart. That is the nature of both flower soul filling the heavens and tainted soul filling the heavens. And, as the gratitude within Ohiseo's tainted soul filling the heavens is passed down to me, a change occurs in my flower soul filling the heavens. Upon the head of the white deer without antlers, the whitened horns of Seo Whale sprout, illuminating the cradle of history. The horns of the sea dragon king magnificently adorn the head of the flower soul filling the heavens, transforming the flower soul filling the heavens into an entirely different power and reshaping its form. At last, my flower soul filling the heavens becomes the white deer with antlers, and begins dashing through the Akashic records once more. On the verge of being ejected into the original time point, I gradually realize that the new flower soul filling the heavens is rolling its hooves. The white deer stamps its hooves and pierces through the force trying to eject us with its antlers, beginning to go against time again. Ohiseo, seemingly lacking the power to follow the reversal, gradually begins to be pushed out into reality. But even as she returns to the original timeline outside the head realm, she does not rise from her bowed posture before me. Quote. Your heart, feeling the half of Ohiseo's spirit contained within the new flower soul filling the heavens, I nod. I have received it, without a doubt. This grace, I shall never forget it. I will honor you not as the yoke of hatred, but as the yoke of gratitude. To the new flower soul filling the heavens. To the one that has now inherited the power of tainted soul filling the heavens. I give a new name. Run forth, gracious soul filling the heavens. Gracious soul filling the heavens, carrying the heart of grace Ohiseo has given, leads me into a new domain. And so, we are taken far into the past, into a deep, ancient time no one knows. The interdimensional void, now a deep darkness where a few paper flowers drift, and faint golden energy shimmers. There, a girl dressed in black martial attire smiles bitterly as she gazes toward somewhere. Because he acknowledged the absoluteness of fate, he managed to seize the starting point to defeating it. It's as if I am seeing Salt Sea, haha. GWAKM may insist without doubt that denying fate is the condition for victory, but what now? It is rather Seo Unyan who has discovered the dagger that can defeat fate. The girl in black martial attire who endlessly sheds black tears, Hyeon Mu, lets out a pained laugh. If the unchangeable fate and heavens are absolute, then the traces of struggling that never vanish, and the will to struggle, are also absolute. Haha, Hong Fan, even if you convulse in disgust without understanding anything, with your memories sealed, there is nothing you can do. Either retrieve your memories and ruin this round, or suffer in disgust with your memories sealed. Still gazing off somewhere, Hyeon Mu strangles herself again, cackling as she kills herself. Until the enders you've cherished so much grow to the point they can completely overcome that disgust, until they reach the level where they can sink their teeth into fate. Woodoo-dook. Hyeon Mu strangles and breaks her own neck in suicide, closing her eyes with a face mixed in pain and madness. Grow well, Seo Unyan, and I pray that you may reach the point where you can read the greatest ancient force. Push aside Sal Tree, who awakened to his essence while unable to endure suffering, and go forth. Pust Saints. The dying Hyeon Mu dissolves into the interdimensional void and disappears. At the same moment, in the inner sea of Mount Sumeru. There, white-winged heavenly Pegasus, who had been knocking on the dimensional gate to enter the eastern heaven flower field, finally succeeds in shattering the gate. Old man, Kugugugugu, Flapping their wings, white-winged heavenly Pegasus charges into the eastern heaven flower field. Then their eyes widen. Oh old man, Hio, what is this? Old man, in the space white-winged heavenly Pegasus reaches, there is no eastern heaven flower field, only a vast emptiness remains. The eastern heaven flower field, which should have existed beyond the dimensional gate, has vanished somewhere. The Sal tree heavenly venerable, with their Gandhara, has gone off somewhere. Did it sink into the ground or something? Chapter 698, Immortal Beast King. Goo. As I push forward through the flow of time, the lingering thought of my master grows ever clearer. The Immortal Beast King advancement ritual is to reach the origin essence of life through the double helix and thus uncover even deeper histories. Was he summoned here from the beginning for the Immortal Beast King advancement ritual? The remnant of the Salt Sea Supreme Deity clings to me and continues speaking, and I listen quietly as I follow behind gracious soul filling the heavens into a distant, ancient past. The method to advance as the Immortal Beast King is simple. Just delve deeper into the origin essence of life than the previous Immortal Beast Kings did. Tsa, the origin essence of life, omniscience. The world also known as the Akashic Records. Through this world as a medium, I dig into the deep past and read the traces of the previous Immortal Beast Kings. What exactly is the Immortal Beast King? I ask my master's remnant. It doesn't seem to be the heavenly venerable of life, yet it's the being who receives the power of omniscience the best. And a title that calls itself King Wong of the Earth Immortals while leaving aside the underworld. I still cannot fully grasp what exactly the Immortal Beast King is. Haha, of course you wouldn't. The remnant of the Salt Sea Supreme Deity Ryong laughs. Originally, it would be best to let one become enthroned as the Immortal Beast King and realize it for themselves, but you seem to have already realized it on your own, so I'll tell you directly. Then, from Ryong's mouth, the truth about the Immortal Beast King begins to spill forth. You know about the immortal cultivation system of the primordial origin, correct? Not exactly. I meant to ask Kim Yeon, but amidst everything that happened, there was never a chance. If you're at the level to undergo the Immortal Beast King advancement, the underworld must have sided with you. They did. Did the underworld not tell you? There wasn't exactly an explanation about the primordial origin immortal cultivation system. Still the same bad habit of talking around in circles and not saying the important parts, that foul-tempered old hag. Pardon, let me explain the primordial origin immortal cultivation system to you. Though I feel I just heard something strange, I listen even more intently to the intriguing truths coming from Ryong's mouth. The primordial origin immortal cultivation system is simple. Through the chi refining formula you know of, you strengthen the body a bit, make sure you won't die from being hit by a rock, learn a few miscellaneous techniques, and from there, you begin grasping immortal arts. That was the cultivation system of origin that existed before the immortal art immortal cultivation existed. Exclamation mark quote. My mouth opens in shock at that overwhelming cultivation method. How can such a thing be possible? With just a person's will, with just the frail will of a human, to overturn the principles of the world, grasp immortal arts, and reach true immortal, reach supreme deity. Are you saying that is the primordial origin immortal cultivation system? I gain an understanding about Kim Yeon's cultivation method. After cultivating up to the heavenly being stage to obtain the bare minimum of lifespan, from there she uses only her will to learn immortal arts and reach true immortality. Only then do I realize that I, too, have followed the primordial origin cultivation system. It was only possible because, with your help, I reached the state where I could wield immortal arts through will alone. But that was only possible because it was me. After going through endless adversity and hardship, with pain that shatters limits, and being thrown again and again into the swamp of life that burns the heart to ash. It was possible only because I became stronger from it and continued in the immortal cultivation system. To think that ordinary people with no power at all could use immortal arts through will alone, is that even? It's not only when you overturn the world that it becomes immortal art. Pardon, with a body refined endlessly, the will to slay the enemy even after death is immortal arts. To seize one last chance to strike the enemy down for one's disciples even in death is immortal arts. To twist the fate of death in order to bow in honor of one's master is also immortal arts. To remain in the 9 heavens for a lover driven mad by revenge and deliver one final word is also immortal arts. To ceaselessly pursue someone you love and move their heart is also immortal arts. To explode oneself and become a star to save one's disciples, that too is immortal arts. Ryong looks at me and smiles. A person's life, in and of itself, is many times, no, immeasurably more noble than immortal arts or origin essence. The very act of being born yesterday, breathing today, and looking toward tomorrow, that alone is the overwhelmingly superior form of all immortal arts in this world. Quote. To dream of what one desires, to live while moving toward it, that is life. Therefore, fate and history and all such things are merely components that compose life, and immortal arts are just a power that twists fate and history. Thus, life itself is the strongest immortal art in the world. But among all the people of this world, those who truly understand that are just me, that old hag, the future king, and a few snake brats. That is why most immortal arts merely seem as if they toy with a person's life. He continues, when observed properly, our life is stronger than anything else. It is the power to dream and vow. If one continues to dream, yearn, and wish, then one day it will certainly manifest as reality, and that reality itself is immortal arts. Therefore, immortal arts can essentially be called dreams. Dreams, a dream, or something one wishes for. I turn those words over in my mind, reflecting on life once more from a new perspective. The power of fate and history is, in truth, a rather common power. The prophecies and revisions made by true immortals merely operate on a larger scale and with greater accuracy. In fact, everyone in this world can perform prophecy and revision. For instance, if one makes a resolution to start training the sword tomorrow, and then picks up a sword the next day, that is prophecy. If one remembers something that happened yesterday, but chooses to remember it in the way they wish, then that is revision. And, the cultivation method of the primordial origin is, based on these facts, a practice of learning about the dreams, more deeply and in more detail. He is a being who has already died, a being who can no longer influence reality in any way. Yet I cannot help but nod along to the profound truths in each word he speaks. To observe one's inner self, to understand one's dreams more and more, and finally to amplify the power of that dream to its peak, that is how the practitioners of the primordial origin cultivated. Quote. I understand the feeling well. For example, it seems to be a system where one attentively observes the will expressed in daily life, and then develops them to such an extreme degree that they could even distort the fundamental principles of reality. That was the ancient cultivation system. Good. Then you must already understand what I'm trying to say. Quote. If everything begins from the manifestation of will, in other words, dreams, and that is the primordial origin cultivation system, then when applying that system to the present, each and every one of the forgotten dreams called ancient force, could be seen as lumps of immortal arts. Regardless of whether they are large or small. That's right. Though they are called forgotten histories, in truth, they are forgotten lives themselves. And for that reason, they are immortal arts themselves. Therefore, the immortal beast king is. Ryong speaks with a solemn gaze. Standing at the apex of all immortal arts that exist in this world, the being who represents immortal arts. They can be called the being who can borrow power from the greatest number of immortal arts. To use a comparison, a kind of immortal arts immortal lord, or immortal arts supreme deity. There is no separate origin essence for immortal arts, but if I were to make a comparison, the realm called the ultimate of martial arts that Hyeon Mu attained is closest to the position of immortal beast king. So I can think of the immortal beast king as someone who seized a vast number of ancient forces instead of triple divinity. It's not seizing. He points to my chest. And in that gesture, I realize he isn't pointing at my chest, but within it. At the impermanent sword nestled in the depths of my heart. It is borrowing. You become the being who can borrow the power of immortal arts better than anyone else. And in exchange for borrowing the power of immortal arts, you must acknowledge those immortal arts, the forgotten dreams known as ancient force, and release them through that recognition. Quote. I begin to fully understand the role of the immortal beast king. The immortal beast king is both a realm and position. No, strictly speaking, it was originally a realm the same as the ultimate of martial arts, but the black snake imposed the restriction that there can be only one immortal beast king, so it effectively became a position. As I listen to Ryong's words, I quietly observe the reactions within my body. Fortunately, or perhaps unfortunately, Hong Fan seems unable to perceive Ryong's presence. Seems like only I can see and hear him. In a way, it's a huge relief. Kugugugugu. I pass through the countless spacetimes of the Akashic records alongside Ryong's remnant. And then, I uncover innumerable ancient forces and truths of the world that the past immortal beast kings have excavated. I see. The reason the legacies of the past enders aren't so abundant is because, whenever a generation of enders falls into decline, the emptiness supreme deity Myung-woon, the head realm, moves and devours everything that the generation's enders left behind. It seems that in this Mount Sumeru, an unimaginable number of enders have once come and gone. Starting from demigods like Obsidian, to existences like Silver Basket, who, from the very beginning, secretly invaded Mount Sumeru by seizing an ender's absoluteness from the outside world and died, a being that was virtually a god. There were also beings from civilizations I can't even comprehend. Some left behind their own heavenly domains, others their authorities, and some even left the foundations for the advancement of new civilizations. But even the heavenly domains and universes left behind by the enders, their authorities, and the possibilities of worlds with new civilizations were devoured by the head realm. As I read through the records that remain in the origin essence of life, I can read the traces of the radiance mantra among them. So originally, Hyuk-Sa would reverse time when the enders die, retrieve their spirits, and simultaneously nullify the very world line in which the enders made progress or left massive traces on. And so, the parallel dimension that is created. In other words, the blood vein of the infant is entirely torn away, devoured by the head realm, and buried as ancient force. And that buried ancient force sleeps for eternity as a single mass, until someone appears to release its grudge. Woo. As I travel through the past, I come to feel just how terrifying a being the Salt Sea Supreme Deity Ryong was. The Supreme Deity who came closest to the third origin essence, is it? Is that why, even in a state like this where only ancient force remains, he can still leave behind this many messages for me? Wu Wang. And finally, I discover what appears to be the end of this long journey through the past. That place over there is the grave of forgotten dreams reached by my successor Immortal Beast King, Hyeon Rang. Hyeon Rang was too afraid to dig deeper into the truths beyond that point and fled from the position of Immortal Beast King, but you will be able to go farther. Quote. Go forth, dig deeper than where Hyeon Rang once reached, and ascend as the new Immortal Beast King. Talk. Ryong's fragment pushes me forward, then scatters into omniscience as a pure white ancient force fragment. After briefly glancing back at that scene, I reach my hand toward the massive wall of mist. Upon closer look, it is a mass of fog-like salt crystal clumps. I reach out toward those salt crystals. Gracious soul filling the heavens thrusts its antlers forward, and in the next moment, exclamation mark, an indescribable bizarre sound echoes all around, and begins to excavate new dreams. They are forgotten truths, torn out histories, and dreams that have died. And then, those bitter, salty tears, clumped together because no one ever acknowledged them, begin to speak to me all at once the moment I reach them. Acknowledge me, recognize me, listen to my dream. Countless beings come to me, seeking resolution. I absorb gracious soul filling the heavens into my body. The hearts of countless people, including Ohai Seos, contained within it react and resonate with the surrounding ancient forces. Wu Wang, my countless past lives, numbering over 2,000. Even those past lives are now a kind of ancient force to me. The me of the present possesses more ancient force than anyone else. And the moment that resonance begins, countless ancient forces begin to resonate with me as well. You too are a being filled with resentment. Or perhaps, a being who endlessly embraces a resentment like ours. You are a being who can acknowledge us. Those histories resonate with the sorrow of regression in my chest that cannot be spoken aloud to another, and amplify the resonance. Normally, this would be the part where one borrows their hearts, grants them release, realizes that their identities were immortal arts all along, and ascend as the Immortal Beast King. I realize why Ryong's remnant told me all of this ahead of time. This is a feeling I already know. Talk. Right then and there, I begin to dance a sword dance. A sword dance that integrates all martial flows I've ever learned. From within it, my life flows out. At the same time, the ultimate of martial arts I attained pours forth. A martial art that holds all connections within my sword. As the sword god dance unfolds from my hands, it weaves a melody within the resonance of countless ancient forces. Just as I once held Jaeon Myung-hoon's heart, I forge the will of my martial pinnacle, and just as I once borrowed Jaeon Myung-hoon's, I begin to imbue my sword with the grudges bound within the countless ancient forces and let them unfold. Unfold it. Kwa. The life of a being flashes before my eyes. My sword dances endlessly, becoming a sword dance for that one being alone. It becomes a requiem offered to the forgotten existence, a ritual to release its sorrow. When one ancient force ends, the next one comes. And when that ends, another follows. Endless lives gather upon my sword, each unfolding in a different form. Pasasasasa. As my sword swings, the surrounding ancient forces and the world of mist splits apart, becoming dyed in resplendent colors. Each time a new color is born, a new movement of the sword dance is created and connects. Each movement is so complete that they all could be called supreme martial techniques in their own rights. How ironic. It feels like only yesterday I admired Kim Jong-un for effortlessly creating new techniques before my eyes. And yet now, I've risen to stand at the same height as him, doing the exact same. My martial arts is perfectly unified with immortal arts, so everything I perform is both a sword dance and martial technique, and also immortal art. I am manifesting forgotten lives in the form of immortal arts and martial techniques. Pasasasasa. The form of the impermanent sword changes, reading the countless ancient forces and creating new martial techniques and immortal arts tailored to them. I melt all those sword dances into a single sword, and the clumps of ancient force in the surroundings gradually begin to gather toward me. Before long, those clumps of ancient force begin to spiral into me like a waterspout, and I smile as I create sword dances suited to each of them without the slightest difficulty. The way the Salt Sea Supreme Deity uncovered ancient forces in a completely different way from me long ago enters my eyes. He expressed the ancient forces through the combination of countless basic spells and gave them acknowledgement. And Hyeon Rang, who came after him, gave each ancient force its own name, defining them. It's when I come to realize all of this. Kugugugugu. Within the raging waterspout, I suddenly recognize that all the ancient forces have fully accepted me into their hearts. Ding. For some reason, the sound of a Brahma bell rings forth, and from within the tornado, a massive resonance spreads out. That vibration spreads outward from us to countless other ancient forces, and I feel it expanding even beyond the head realm. Whisper, 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 whisper. Countless ancient forces come to know who I am, and that I am the one who will grant them release. This knowledge spreads to every ancient force. And in that moment, I feel that I have been acknowledged by the ancient forces present across the entirety of the Sumeru Three Heavens Great Thousand World. Ding. Kugugugugu. As I feel myself reaching the pinnacle of immortal arts and ancient force, I come to know that I now possess the authority to command and the authority to define all ancient force in this world. Ding. The third bell tolls. With that sound, I take the form of the immortal beast Candle Shadow and become the incarnation of the gracious soul filling the heavens, the white deer with antlers itself, and I feel as though I now hold the entire world in the palm of my hand. Pot. I return beyond the head realm, back to the timeline where we once had been, and I come to realize. Now, I can access and view any ancient force at any time, anywhere, and I now have the qualification to swim in the depths of the origin essence of life within the head realm to excavate forgotten truths. Moreover, if I resolve the information of the ancient forces I access through using techniques like my sword god dance, I can draw out the power contained within the ancient force. Thank you, everyone. The Sumeru Three Heavens Great Thousand World. My voice resounds brilliantly throughout. Everyone, including Jaeon Myung-hoon, turns to look at me. It's thanks to all of you that I have reached this place. Kugugugugu. Now fully expelled from the head realm, I feel it even more clearly. The trace of the double helix I left behind upon my enthronement now feels as though it is my body itself. I now seem to envelop the entirety of Mount Sumeru, with my head resting atop the head realm, gazing down from the summit of Mount Sumeru. In the legends of the countless candle dragons bearing my candle dragon true blood, it shall now be recorded that the candle dragon coils Mount Sumeru, resting its head at the summit, and gazes down upon the mountain from above. As the immortal beast Candle Shadow, I recognize myself as one encircling all of Mount Sumeru and cry out. I, the new immortal beast king, Seo Un-yun, shall not forget those who showed me grace. Kururururung. I am the immortal beast Candle Shadow, Seo Un-yun. The new immortal beast king, and the immortal beast who symbolizes repaying grace bow in. Pukwik. Just then, at the very moment I declare my enthronement as immortal beast king, a hand made of flowers erupts from the head realm and pierces through my neck. Question mark. Before I can even react, though the concept of death should hold no meaning for me anymore, the concept of annihilation is forcibly driven into me, and without even a moment to flee through heavenly escape, I am destroyed. Wang. Amidst this absurd annihilation, I look toward the owner of the hand that suddenly struck out. Was it because he was hiding among the ancient forces of the head realm that I couldn't perceive him? TSTSTSTSTST. With my fall, the radiance mantra activates, and my eyes meet with his. That being is, for some reason, the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable who burst forth from the head realm with the entirety of their Gandhara. Kurururun. I see Jaeon Myung-hoon rushing across the heavenly domain toward the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable, and I see the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable fighting him, emitting a motionless intent. And at the very end of this life, so short yet filled with so many events, the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable looks at me and speaks a single line with an expressionless face. For awakening my essence, I offer deep gratitude. As compensation, I shall now grant the Distinguished One the opportunity to proceed toward the proper fate as well. Jaejeuk. The flower-formed face of the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable contorts into a grotesque smile as he looks at me. Damn it. Seeing his appearance, I can tell. The current Sal Tree is now capable of properly wielding the overflowing power of a Gandhara Heavenly Venerable at the same level as Hyeon Mu. The power remains the same as when the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable was normal. But his danger level has now risen to that of Hyeon Mu. From this point on, I must face the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable who poses a threat on par with Hyeon Mu, and has become our enemy. As I come to that realization, I close my eyes. That is my 2011th return. Chapter 699, 2011th Cycle's First Day. Hio. Time rewinds. I feel slightly dumbfounded at the absurdity of my death. That strike from the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable was quite literally fate. The secret blow unleashed at me by the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable hiding within the origin essence of life with their Gandhara. Because it was the power of the annihilation flower that forcibly imposes annihilation upon its target, it was capable of reducing me to ruin regardless of whether I have established a new immortal cultivation system or reached martial pinnacle. No, if it had been Hyeon Mu, maybe she wouldn't have died even from that. In truth, it may simply come down to a difference in martial pinnacle proficiency. And in the first place, my martial pinnacle activates only when someone else is with me, so it's unstable on its own. Of course, I have succeeded in becoming the immortal Beast King. Jaeon Myung-hoon also awakened as a heavenly king, so even if I regress now, there shouldn't be a problem. Having acquired the seat from the heavenly punishment supreme deity, even with regression, resurrection shouldn't be possible for the heavenly punishment supreme deity. But, all of that is just an excuse. I grit my teeth. These are unconscious excuses for dying such a futile death. I could have done so much more. The connections I formed with countless others, the time I spent with them, all of it has faded away. Of course, I now know those timelines haven't been erased. But I still can't help feeling bitter. Hiding that bitterness, I feel the presence of half of Ohai Seo's spirit, mixed with gracious soul filling the heavens inside my body. Right now, Ohai Seo is like the lingering spirit I asked Song Jin to attach to my body during the first regression point. Since regression through the radiance mantra is something that is only possible for me alone, those below the heavenly venerable rank have their souls torn away if they come along with me. But, for some reason, this time feels a little different. Now, I have reached the ultimate of martial arts, and have even become the immortal Beast King. At least a single spirit. Wu Wang, I merge Ohai Seo's soul with my gracious soul filling the heavens and conceal it. I can bring with me. Kugugugugu. Then, the power of the radiance mantra collides with the law of causality that forms this world, Indra's net. The radiance mantra accepts me without issue and attempts to regress me, while Indra's net, perhaps sensing that I'm bringing Ohai Seo's spirit along, tries to forcibly tear her spirit away from me. Ohai Seo's spirit in my embrace is pulled between the two sides and suffers in pain, and seeing her like that, I use the power I've attained through martial pinnacle and as the immortal Beast King. Tsa, I'll sever it. The impermanence sword appears to shine pure white. In the next moment, I unfold the sword god dance and slash at the web of causality attempting to tear Ohai Seo away. I cut off a part of Indra's net. Shukek, Jeong, the world quakes, and the principle of Indra's net that tries to pull away Ohai Seo's spirit gets rebounded. So this is how it's done. Restructuring the laws. I recall the time when the underworld partially restructured the law concerning Enders, and I gained some insight into how to alter the laws of the world. Thus, Ohai Seo's spirit, writhing from the pain caused by Indra's net, begins to regress with me from within my embrace. And just when I complete the verification of this regression with Ohai Seo's half-spirit as a test subject. I see something wriggling toward me from the very edge of the river of time. And soon, I realize what it is. Exclamation mark. Sal tree. It is the Gandhara of the sal tree heavenly venerable, appearing like a massive wriggling worm made entirely of flowers. At the very end of that worm-like Gandhara, a human-shaped face of the sal tree heavenly venerable blooms in the direction facing toward me. That appearance even seemed to resemble the candle dragon race that received my true blood. Seeing how they bothered to take that form, it seems to have been intentionally done to establish an attraction force between us. Still, the candle dragon race wasn't this grotesque. As I watch the sal tree heavenly venerable writhing and crawling up the river of time with their entire body covered in flowers and only their head taking human form, I frown. Is it because those of heavenly venerable rank have become aware of regression? Or is it because he has awakened some essence unknown even to himself? The sal tree heavenly venerable, like the heavenly venerable of the underworld in the past, now chases me by directly going against the river of time and opens his mouth. Please come. This old one shall allow you to understand your fate, and carry out the beginning, development, twist, and conclusion of that fate. I shall let you, too, properly wield the power of fate. At this rate, am I going to arrive at the regression point together with the sal tree heavenly venerable? My regression point is the front courtyard of the great mountain supreme deity, and around it are Kim Yin and Oh Hai Seo of that time point. Saying he will carry out my beginning, development, twist, and conclusion, is he saying he will harm the Kim Yin and Oh Hai Seo of that time? No, even if he doesn't harm them, just separating them from me would be enough to advance the progression. I quickly finish my calculations and look at the grotesquely transformed sal tree heavenly venerable. While regressing, the pressure of reversing time makes it hard to exert power properly. So, right after regression, I should blast the sal tree heavenly venerable far away, grab Kim Yin and Oh Hai Seo, and escape in one go to Mount Sumeru, all the way to the underworld. That's probably the best move. In any case, like with Hyeon Mu, if someone like Hong Fan interferes with death, even if one has the power to slay a heavenly venerable, killing the sal tree heavenly venerable would be impossible. If I can't kill, I'll avoid. There's no need to fight head-on. Having decided how to deal with the sal tree heavenly venerable, I quickly wait for the regression. And shortly after, at last, the regression to the 2011th cycle is complete. Flash. As I look around, familiar chaos spreads before me. Immediately after, I thrust the impermanence sword toward the massive, flower-covered worm with an old man's face, that appears in the void. That thing is, all of a sudden, the colors of the flowers blooming on the sal tree heavenly venerable's body change. The flowers that were a multitude of vibrant colors just moments ago, have all simultaneously turned black. All the flowers in the flower field have turned into annihilation flowers. Then, aiming for this greatest vulnerable moment right after regression, he unleashes a bombardment of annihilation flowers. That was close. Had I not reached the ultimate of martial arts, I wouldn't have been able to block it. I would have been forced to infinitely regress again and again, like during the events with Great Mountain or Blood Yin. But now is different. Sot. I am now the immortal Beast King. The one who has the authority to access and borrow all ancient force. And my martial pinnacle is a martial pinnacle that reaches the peak when borrowing another's heart. Here and now, I will borrow your ancient force. Wu Wang. I attempt to read the ancient force of the sal tree heavenly venerable, who has suffered through near eternity across over 1,000 cycles. Sa. Then, a portion of the sal tree heavenly venerable's history reveals itself to me. This is, as I witness the great feat of the sal tree heavenly venerable, my eyes open wide. I delved into immortal arts and explored the world, and during that pursuit, I discovered a new domain of immortal arts. That domain was one where forgotten dreams, the dreams of marginalized existences, were sublimated into immortal arts, breathing life even into those forsaken dreams. I reached that domain, listened to the stories held within the countless dreams, communed with them, and resolved the regrets they bore. Numerous emperors and venerables called my method shamanism, and in the cultivation system that was originally divided into the Buddhist family, the immortal family, and the Confucian family, the shamanic family was established thanks to me. I refer to these powers as immortal arts of endless potential, dreams that are merely yet to bloom, simply forgotten and forsaken, and refined them into the form of transparent seeds, naming their power as Zero Ling. The imperial venerables praised me as the namer of zeros, the one who has reached the apex, and they called this realm of mine the scenery of the Zero King. It later became the realm known as the immortal Beast King. I, $and Eastern Heavenly Venerable Flower Monarch owner of Sal Tree Guan Miang, and *%, thus fulfill the feat required, and became a Heavenly Venerable. Flash. From the impermanent sword, the history of the ancient force read from the Sal tree heavenly venerable settles within, and collides with the Sal tree heavenly venerable alongside the sword god dance. This is. I am taken aback by the ancient force I read from the Sal tree heavenly venerable. Originally, I only intended to read the ancient force born from his encounter with me and the resulting regressions, but I ended up reading his fundamental memory. And I realized that this memory too is a form of ancient force. The Sal tree heavenly venerable. These aren't his own memories. Someone tore out their own history, refined it into ancient force, and forcibly stuffed it into the Sal tree heavenly venerable. That is the current Sal tree heavenly venerable. It is the same truth I previously confirmed. And I cannot help but be appalled upon realizing what the great feat of the being embedded into the Sal tree heavenly venerable is. The first immortal beast king. Did the very being who created the concept of the immortal beast king insert their own great feat? The one who excavated the realm known as Immortal Beast King, named that realm, and created the new concept of the shamanic family. Such a great feat alone is enough to rival the achievement of Mount Sumeru extermination that was pasted on Hyeon Mu. I cannot help but feel overwhelmed. There's a high chance that the original owner of the achievements imposed on Hyeon Mu and the Sal tree heavenly venerable are one and the same. And most likely, that one is the future king. The first martial god and the first immortal beast king. No, back then, was it called the Zero King? In any case, even one of these great feats is overwhelming, yet this is a being who has stacked up several such feats. Kugugugugu. Borrowing the power of the ancient force overlaid on the Sal tree heavenly venerable, I clash against him and grit my teeth. No, there's no need to despair. What's important is the present. I decide to stop staring at the door to a future I can't yet comprehend, and as I confront the Sal tree heavenly venerable, I glance at a corner of the world of chaos. The great mountain supreme deity still hasn't reacted. Or perhaps, after seeing my sword god dance, he judged that there's no point in shooting annihilation advancement Mu. But I can't let my guard down. Quararara. At that moment, the Sal tree heavenly venerable begins to scatter blooming annihilation flowers across his entire body. Within the world of chaos, the annihilation flowers that form the body of the Sal tree heavenly venerable start scattering petal by petal, swirling violently. I realize what the Sal tree heavenly venerable is aiming for. He's targeting Kim Yi and Ohai Seo. Quarararik. I immediately transform into spiraling light and collide with the Sal tree heavenly venerable. Not a chance. Sea of chaos. Within it, a tornado of white light continuously strikes against the tide of dark petals, completely blocking all of the grasping hands of the Sal tree heavenly venerable. Kugugugu. The white whirlwind and the wave of petals entwine, pushing away the surrounding chaos. In our clash, the surrounding chaos is forced into a spherical boundary, forming an immeasurable space. And as I strike away the power of the Sal tree heavenly venerable, I understand. Evenly matched. The level of the Sal tree heavenly venerable, who has awakened and descended with their Gandhara, and my own, are completely equal. At this rate, this won't be a battle of 1,000 days, but might become a battle of 1,000 years. No, I'm at a disadvantage. I have something to protect, and unlike me, who still retains the concept of death, the Sal tree heavenly venerable is a being to whom the very concept of death is not permitted. I need help. Just a little. It is at that moment. Hio. Something suddenly appears at the center of my being, which has become a white whirlwind. That being bears a familiar face, and their entire body scatters gentle starlight. Time. I see that being. As I look at the owner of time, the southern heavenly venerable, the true ultimate eternal life great emperor, I shout out in confusion. The owner of time, Cheon Woon, has sent a projection to this place. And soon, the heavenly venerable of time looks at the Sal tree heavenly venerable and speaks with a gloomy expression. Activate the Northern Dipper Sealing Immortal Flag. I will link it with my Gandhara. .. exclamation mark colon colon. The moment time finishes speaking, I feel my Northern Dipper Sealing Immortal Flags resonate, and I sense a connection forming between me and the source river that spans Mount Sumeru. The source river. The main body of the heavenly venerable of time. From the deep depths of his Gandhara, I feel a powerful ancient force, as strong as that of the Sal tree heavenly venerable. Cheon Woon looks bitterly at the Sal tree heavenly venerable and murmurs. Oh pitiful friend, please escape from fate. Even if our essence has been imposed upon us, what chose that essence is our personalities that have lived until now. And the Sal tree heavenly venerable only smiles grotesquely at Cheon Woon. Oh southern Sal tree. We are merely the twin Sal trees. Know that we are to linger only until the arrival of the perfectly enlightened one, Zheng Wei Jie. You and I are not friends, but originally the same being. The east is mine, the south is yours, the north is Gang's gang, and the west is the Zero King's. Have you forgotten that we are to take root in the four directions and bless that day? My friend, with each word from the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable, pain fills Qian Wun's face. I am not a Sal Tree. None of us want to live like this. Suwa, the power of ancient force surging from the Heavenly Venerable of Time fills into my sword. At the same time, the ancient force of the great feat imposed on the Heavenly Venerable of Time begins tempering my mind, strengthening the sword god dance. As I read the history of the great feat imposed upon time, I strongly grip my sword. The first world was nothing but a pile of unstable trash scattered here and there. Heavenly domains. The worlds called universes were all scattered throughout chaos, each becoming a different time and dimension, creating their own separate realities. The imperial venerables who ruled each universe, or the cultivators called chief gods, each governed their own universe, yet they were merely lost children of chaos endlessly drifting. None ever thought of connecting with one another, nor had the slightest interest in each other. No, they didn't even care that the universes they ruled were being crushed and destroyed within the chaos. That is why I decided to link them. Because I hoped that even without the governance of the chief gods, the worlds they ruled would stabilize. I journeyed and sailed across all of chaos. And finding all the heavenly domains that existed in this world of chaos, I began connecting them with attraction force. After I was born, during my mortal days, I split in half and killed the chief god who ruled this place. Then, centering around the universe I named the Bright Ming universe, I linked the 5 heavenly domains governed by the chief gods of the 5 elements. Thus, 6 nearby heavenly domains were gathered and linked, uniting 6 universes into one, stabilizing them. The 6 interconnected universes each shined like bright stars. I then began adjusting the attraction force of the 6 heavenly domains to trace the curvature of a cone. I wanted to make a mountain. Because only promise I must kept. And hash percent dollar. Hash at dollar carat dot. I decided to name the mountain Sumeru. Through hash dollar carat dollar hashtag great feat became percent carat dollar owner of time Southern Heavenly Venerable True Ultimate Eternal Life Great Emperor Qian Wun dollar asterisk and percent. Boo-doo-dook. Just a simple viewing of the history contained within the great feat causes my mind to shudder and my soul to overload. For a moment, I nearly mistake myself for the narrator who exists within that ancient force. The history is so overwhelming that had it not been me, but someone of ordinary true immortal level, they would have likely been brainwashed the moment they accessed this history, completely convinced they are that narrator inside the ancient force. Simply focusing my mind so I don't lose myself while reading the ancient force's history brings me a level of exhaustion comparable to when I fought with all my strength against Hyone Emu's Gandhara. The hearts contained within the ancient forces of Sal Tree and Time settle into the dance of the Sword God. Sword God Dance, revised. The enlightenment of martial pinnacle that borrows the hearts of connections and rebirths the sword anew. The dance of the half-baked martial pinnacle that divine descends all of phenomena unfolds in my hand. 6 stars 0 King Lu Xing Ling Wang. Devil Sword. For an instant, I become a devil god. The moment I infuse the hearts of the great feats imposed upon the 2 heavenly venerables into the impermanent sword, it becomes the apex of the ominous and the devilish, comparable to the great mountain supreme deity. It becomes the extreme of the killing star, one that slaughters all, cuts and rends, severs flesh and bone, and even tears a supreme deity apart with just human flesh and blood, unleashing a heart of endless suffering with a single sword. Nameless rending. The impermanence sword becomes a savage fang, a venomous tooth, and violently crashes toward the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable. Jajak. One strike. That is all. However, the instant that devilish sword is unleashed, the grotesque monstrous god resembling a wriggling worm that is the flower monarch fails to endure the furiously sweeping power of the devilish sword and becomes trapped within the sword's momentum. At this rate, I will grind down the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable and gift him every pain before killing him. No. But I barely manage to restrain the sword's killing nature, knocking the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable away with the flat of the blade. Tukwang. Jajauyuk. The sea of chaos splits wide open, and the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable is flung far beyond the distant chaos. Wait for me, I shall return to see you once more. With a grotesque appearance, the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable gives a slight smile and simply disappears. Chi. And I, unable to even pay attention to the vanishing Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable, turn into my transformation form and gasp for breath. It isn't difficult to drive away the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable, but what's troubling is the devilish sword unleashed from my hands. And, the original owner of the heart that allowed me to wield that devilish sword. The presence of the one who overlaid the great feats onto the southern, eastern, and northern heavenly venerables fills my mind completely, and I must expel it by any means. Kahayak, Huk, Hiok, Weeg, I descend into the flower soul filling the heavens of this time point where Kim Yi and Ohai Seo are in, and the flower soul filling the heavens merges with my gracious soul filling the heavens. Ohai Seo, perhaps connecting with her spirit of another timeline, is unable to recall her memories but seems to have inherited the heart, as the way she looks at me suddenly changes, and Kim Yi hastily rushes over and infuses me with an immortal art to stabilize me. Kugugugugu. I begin returning to Mount Sumeru through gracious soul filling the heavens, which transcends space-time and pierces even the origin essence of life, and strangely, the great mountain supreme deity has not even once cast a single glance at me all this while. Then, to me, who is emptying the presence that has dwelled within me, the projection of the heavenly venerable of time approaches and speaks bitterly. You saw it, didn't you? Yes. Thinking of the monstrous being who pioneered the realm of the first immortal beast king, created Mountain Sumeru, and massacred all beings within it, I nod heavily. As that being, the heavens. Chapter 700. Annihilation and Flower 1. Cheon Woon lets out a sigh at my question. I don't know either. I just vaguely guess that it might be so. And what does Southern Sal Tree mean? Also, about sharing the same essence as Sal Tree. At my continued questions, the face of the heavenly venerable of time stiffens. He speaks again with a gloomy expression. We are not mere beings who exist as complete individuals, but a kind of prophecy. Exclamation mark. Realizing what he means, I let out a stifled groan. The heavenly venerables, you yourselves, are a kind of prophecy medium, something like a star of prophecy. That's right, we were created as Sal trees that will take root somewhere in this world and spread our branches, to become tools that pray for the descent of the Absolute One, and prophetic mediums that realize the fate of that advent. I click my tongue at that outrageous truth. They're using heavenly venerables as mere stars of prophecy. Since long ago, Guanmyong has been second only to Hyeon Mu in reflecting upon his own essence. Because of that, he realized that his essence is the Sal Tree, and gave himself the title of Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable. It's hard to rank the three heavenly venerables, but if one must, then in the order of self-awareness of their essence, it would be the Northern Heavenly Venerable, then the Eastern Heavenly Venerable. Only at the end would I stand. But perhaps because I am the farthest from my essence. Cheon Woon gazes downward bitterly. Only I have seriously questioned our very lives and deeply pondered our dignity. As a result, I alone have been able to best preserve my ego and, while staying a step apart from my essence, prepare for liberation. He gazes far off into the direction of Mount Sumeru. The underworld is always outside the discussion, and both Void and Sal Tree went insane upon realizing their essence due to a definite flaw in their own Gandhara. But only I placed my ego into my projection, entrusted my Gandhara to Young Sung and the Northern Dipper 7 Heavenly Lords, and reached the edge of this world. The boundary of Kakravada Tai Wei. And through reaching the boundary of Kakravada, I understood. The heavenly venerable of time turns his gaze toward me. This world is a kind of egg. No, perhaps it is more accurate to say it's a womb or a gestational realm. It is such a place. And everything that happens in this world ultimately exists to give birth to something. Exclamation mark. The being we heavenly venerables, including myself, will welcome as prophetic mediums. The one called the Absolute One or the perfectly enlightened one. Everything in this world functions for the sake of receiving that being. In other words, when that being is someday born, we will be like the egg white and yolk inside the shell, nutrients for that birth, and we will vanish. Cheon Woon's eyes have deeply hardened. The boundary of the world. It was only after observing the outer sea and Mount Sumeru from the reverse of Kakravada that I realized it. Why do you think Mount Sumeru, which originally had the shape of a cone, is now overturned into the shape of an inverted cone? At Cheon Woon's continued words, not just me, but also Kim Yeon and Oh Hai Seo, who have been struggling to follow the conversation, seem visibly shaken. All life must flip over once in order to be born. Only by looking inward from the boundary of the outer world did I finally understand. The flow of all attraction force in this world is becoming a flow that seeks to birth some existence. No matter what sacrifices that process may entail. Quote. So what you're saying is, you don't know. Correct. Are the great feats imposed upon time and Sal Tree that of the future king, or is it of the absolute one that is to be born someday? Are the future king and the absolute one the same being? If there is a hierarchy between them, who stands higher? Do the future king and the absolute one oppose each other, or are they allies? Is it simply that no judgment is possible because we know nothing? Despite having all reached the peak of the world, all we still possess are fragmented, scattered pieces of information. The ones who probably know the most are the first radiant supreme deity Hyuksa, Hong Fan, and maybe Hyeon Mu, who is presumed to have been part of the first radiant supreme deity. But none of them seem to have any thoughts of sharing that information with me. In the end, is the truth something that can only be learned by challenging the audience chamber? As I organize my thoughts in various ways, I look toward the heavenly venerable of time. He wears a face twisted in pain. Even after going this far, there's nothing I know. I know absolutely nothing, but one thing is certain. Boo-doo-dook. Then, I flinch at Cheon Woon's next muttered words. Without knowing anything, I don't want to become a tool for the birth of some existence I know nothing about. I don't want to become a sacrifice as a mere southern twin Sal Tree for the absolute one's descent. I want to live. I'm saying I want to live. Without the flow of any fate, without anyone's constraints, I want to roam endlessly vast worlds, enjoy the worlds with joy, and after an endless voyage, die as a wanderer. I hate living a life trapped in this cramped egg, just to become the mere nutrients for someone's birth. Boo-doo-dook. Cheon Woon grits his teeth. I want to live. That's all it ever was. And so, because I want to live, I will help you all. Especially you. Tap. He grabs my shoulder and speaks. Even if Sal Tree has been pushed into chaos, a heavenly venerable can never be taken lightly. No, in fact, now that he will start making remote prophecies from afar in order to determine the victor, it's even more dangerous than close combat. From now on, he will start sending whispers to the other supreme deities, coaxing them and attempting to bring you harm. Quote. You are saying you will help us? Yes, come to where I am. If it's with your newly sublimated purple soul filling the heavens, the ultimate of martial arts, and your power as the immortal beast king, you will surely be able to reach the boundary of Kakravada, where I reside. What will change if I go there? The battlefield will change. Just to capture you. Are you truly fine with Sal Tree turning all the living beings of Mount Sumeru into a single flower? Quote. Aside from the change of the battlefield, there is much I can give you in this place. And if Sal Tree chases you even this far, then I too can draw him in and try something of my own, so please. TSTSTSTSTs. The projection of the heavenly venerable of time pleads with me as it gradually melts away into the chaos. Reach me. With that final plea from the heavenly venerable of time, I finally return to Mount Sumeru. Yo, Seo Unyun. Upon returning to Mount Sumeru, what I see is Jaeon Myong-hoon, now holding the heavenly lightning banner, having turned the Jade Pivot 48 lightning heavenly great immortals into prayer beads. Kurururung. The path he has walked crackles with red lightning, and from him emanates a sacred aura strangely reminiscent of the heavenly venerable's Gandhara. The Sal Tree heavenly venerable's move was a bit sudden, but what's up with just dying like that? I thought I'd die from the panic. Jaeon Myong-hoon chuckles as he speaks. I look at him and grin widely. Now, I truly have a friend among my comrades who is aware of the regression. Quote. By the way, what did you do with the Jade Pivot 48 lightning heavenly great immortals in Zhengli? Through my authority, I revived the Jade Pivot 48 lightning heavenly great immortals in this timeline using the prophecy I made to them in the previous timeline as a medium. Zhengli was originally directly tied to the origin essence of heavenly punishment, so after I pushed out Dugon and became the owner of heavenly punishment in this timeline, she naturally became mine. No one seems to fully grasp the situation yet, but they'll figure it out slowly. And when they do, well, things will play out just like in the previous life. Quote. Isn't it heavy? I ask with a bitter smile at Jaeon Myong-hoon's words, as he once again bears the anger of the lightning immortals in one body and strives to revive heavenly punishment, just like in the last life. However, Jaeon Myong-hoon only slowly shakes his head. Even if it's heavy, it's my karma, so I'm the one who should carry it. Quote. You've grown well. Don't talk like you've seen through everything, you punk. Makes me feel weird for no reason. Anyway, the underworld is calling for both you and me. Yeah, I was about to head there anyway. After exchanging a few casual words with Jaeon Myung-hoon, I cross into the deepest depths of the underworld in a single stride. Pot. Before I knew it, my ground shrinking technique had reached the level where I can arrive at the underworld's deepest depths in a single step. I briefly leave Kim Yi and an Oh Seo in the care of White Eunuch, then head with Jaeon Myung-hoon to pay an audience to the underworld. Cooing. The familiar gate to the deepest depths of the underworld opens and welcomes us. We greet the Imperial Venerable. We greet the Imperial Venerable. Even though I have become of heavenly venerable rank, I stick out my tongue, feeling the ever-ferocious power of the underworld that makes my flesh tremble. Cooing. The gate behind us closes, and the underworld looks down at us and speaks. First, Red Pearl Cycling Heavenly King. Congratulations on rising to heavenly venerable rank. From now on, I shall no longer address you as the Rug of Seo Eun-yun's group, but as the complete, Red Pearl Cycling Heavenly King Jaeon Myung-hoon. I swear to give you my full support and protection. Jaeon Myung-hoon too, has now fully reached the standards of the underworld. It is an honor as vast as the sea. Good. Enough with the formalities. And Seo Eun-yun. Yes, Imperial Venerable. Truly, much has happened, but regardless, for returning from the outer sea, reaching the ultimate of martial arts, and being enthroned to the position of Immortal Beast King, I congratulate you. Thank you. Only upon hearing the underworld's words do I truly feel the reality of having become the Immortal Beast King. Now, just with martial pinnacle and the status of Immortal Beast King alone, you already rival the top ranks of supreme deities, and stand equal to the lower tier of heavenly venerable ranks. If you divine descent the authority of Jaeon Myung-hoon or other heavenly kings, you will roughly match even Hyeon Mu. It is proper to see you as practically of heavenly venerable rank. As the underworld says this, she stares at me intently for a moment. To be of heavenly venerable rank at merely the realm of great net. If you gain an origin essence and become a heavenly king, no. Just becoming an immortal lord makes me have great expectations as to what level you could reach. Haha, since I've come this far, I'll aim for at least supreme deity. But at my words, the underworld slightly shakes her head. That is impossible, for you are an ender. Pardon, you, who are essentially an innate heavenly venerable, cannot become a supreme deity. Even if you obtain an origin essence, it is entirely impossible for you to become one with it. She points toward us. The fragment of the third absolute you possess is, in itself, such a vast piece, and since you are practically that fragment itself, you are treated as one who has already merged with something that is a higher form to the origin essence. In other words, you are already, in essence, like a supreme deity of another immortal Tao. It is no different from trying to consume another origin essence to become a supreme deity who holds two seats. It is an absurd notion. I let out a silent sigh at those words, and Jaeon Myung-hoon, seemingly not understanding, asks a question. But if you eat two origin essences, wouldn't you just be holding two supreme deity seats? Why can't you hold both? It's not like eating two devil fruits where you explode and die or something. I do not know what fruit you are talking about, but I will tell you this. It is not an issue of rejection. It is a matter of the fluidity of the seat. The underworld points at her face. If you have only one mouth but get two meals you absolutely must eat, do you perhaps grow another mouth? Or do you eat them in order? I usually just stuff them in all at once. Right, no matter how many favorite foods you have and how greedily you shove them in, there is only one entryway. Holding multiple supreme deity seats is similar. You, as a being, are still only one, and if you try to dominate more than one origin essence, there is a high probability that the origin essences, like the food you greedily stuff into your mouth, will mix together and birth a new origin essence. Then wouldn't that make you twice as strong anyway? When you eat two meals at once, does your mouth perhaps double in size? If you consume and merge two origin essences, you may become slightly stronger for a short while due to the residual force, but once the origin essence stabilizes, it ends up the same. You enders already possess the powerful origin essence known as the fragment of the absolute from birth, so even if you gain an origin essence, you do not become supreme deities. The authority of the origin essence merges with the authority of your absolute fragment, and you do become a heavenly king of heavenly venerable rank, but that is all. You can never become a supreme deity. Nor do you particularly need to. With the underworld's following explanation, Jaeon Myung-hoon seems fully convinced. If ordinary true immortals follow their immortal Tao, seize the origin essence, become supreme deities, and afterward divine descent the absolute to become heavenly venerables, You enders follow the power of the Absolute, awaken your fate, seize the power of the Absolute, become immortal lords, and finally divine descent the power of the origin essence to become heavenly kings. It is the direct opposite of ordinary true immortals, but in a way, it is a more efficient method that reaches heavenly venerable faster without waste. Therefore, you are in truth already no different from supreme deities, and there is no need for you to become one, nor can you. I understand. Quote. But I look at the underworld and let out a forced laugh. So in the end, even if I obtain my senior brother's origin essence, I still need to awaken to my fate and master the authority to the extreme in order to become a heavenly king. That is not really an issue for you anyway, is it? You are already of heavenly venerable rank. If you just obtain an origin essence from this state, you will practically rival the peak battle strength of Obsidian or Silver Basket at their prime. Just becoming an immortal lord would make you worthy of being called the god of gods. Above all, you've got plenty of time anyway. Jaeon Myung-hoon taps me on the shoulder as speaks. If realizing your fate is hard, just pour time into it. Sooner or later, you'll realize it. Quote. Strictly speaking, I already know what my fate is. It's just, I haven't embodied it yet. To begin with, though the absolute fragment is with me, it's a crazy situation where the authority has gone with Hong Fan. So honestly, I can't even grasp what kind of ability my authority is. I really do need to retrieve it someday. Clicking my tongue, I organize my thoughts and nod. Alright, I now understand well why I cannot become a supreme deity. That aside, it seems you had a different reason for calling us. Yes, we went off topic for a moment. The reason I called you is simple. Flinch. At the underworld's following words, not only Jaeon Myung-hoon, but even I am taken aback. Hunt down the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable. If he has already awakened as the twin Sal Tree of the East, there is no way he will ever be on our side. In that case, now, when he is at his weakest and his essence and openings are exposed, subdue the Sal Tree Heavenly Venerable and steal the great feat imposed upon him. Coo-goo-goo-goo-goo-goo. Behind the underworld, a massive abyss opens. And from that abyss, something terrifying begins to descend. It is a colossal ship. A ship is floating above Indra's net. That ship is made entirely of darkness and is itself an attraction force of shadows that swallows all lights. It is the attraction force of the netherworld that pulls in the deceased. The ship, ferryman, and river that call forth all of the dead. Of course, if you are defeated, the world may be revised and everything erased as if it never happened. Still, seizing his great feat right now will be of immense help. It is with a high chance to be of the future king's history, so let us bring that history into our own hands, and preemptively suppress a portion of the future king's power. Kiak, the gate to the deepest depths of the underworld opens, and beyond it are familiar faces. Yun Sok Hung Nim, Kong Min Hee, Oh Yun Sok, Kim Yeon, Oh Hai Seo, and the others. All of my comrades have gathered. I watched the conversation you had with the Heavenly Venerable of Time. I shall lend you Song Jin, the original nether crossing ship. Ride Song Jin, and reach the Heavenly Venerable of Time Cheon Woon. Then together with Cheon Woon, defeat Sal Tree.